It's podcast time. March 3rd, 2014 is the day when I'm recording this, and this is the Solid Signal podcast. Welcome to all of my friends and followers. I've got a lot to talk about this week, and I'm going to try to tie it back into the world of satellite TV and antennas as best I can, but it's really more of those sort of things that I just want to get off my chest, and since I have a podcast and the folks at Solid Signal are pretty generous in letting me talk about pretty much anything I want, well, here's my chance. If you were one of the billion or so people who watch the Oscars around the world, I'm kind of curious to see if you were as let down by it as I was. Oh, sure, there were a couple of interesting moments, including the most retweeted photo ever, apparently, but I have to say, there was something that wasn't quite right about this broadcast. And it started from the beginning, and it went all the way to the end. It just didn't quite work. I'll say right off the bat that I don't really want to come down hard on anybody specific except maybe one or two people, because I know thousands of people work on the Oscar broadcast and they work very hard, and I'm not saying that I could do a better job. All of that said, however, there were just a lot of little missteps. It started out in the beginning, I kept waiting for Ellen DeGeneres to kind of do something besides sort of her signature rambling. And yes, I understand the irony of my signature rambling, talking about the problem with her signature rambling. Not the point here. But she's standing there in front of a bunch of incandescent bulbs, and I'm sort of tuning her out, and I'm thinking, you either have one of two issues with these incandescent bulbs she's standing in front of, because there's like 500 of them. And either you're thinking, gee, how come I can't get 500 incandescent bulbs? Or you're thinking, gee, think of all the energy she's wasting with those incandescent bulbs. Either way, the point is I really wasn't paying attention to what she was saying because I wasn't super interested and didn't really seem like she was making any attempt to tie it in at all into the broadcast. And so I started off bored. I was expecting a musical number, something fancy, and, I didn't get that. Speaking of which, looking back at the whole thing, the biggest metaphor for the entire broadcast were those big, empty, hollow shells of Oscar statuettes that populated the stage from time to time. That's exactly how the whole thing felt. Kind of big and hollow and empty and not a whole lot of substance. And it went on like that too, because a lot of times when they're putting the Oscars together, they try to bring out sort of interesting pairings. Maybe two people who used to be on a TV show together who haven't seen each other in a long time, or people who won Academy Awards in the same year for the same thing. And I didn't see that at all. And not only that, a lot of times the music they played when they were walking out didn't make a lot of sense either. And, when you have to stop and think about stuff like that, it means you're not really enjoying yourself. The presenters seemed a little bit too unprepared. Would it be so hard to give them the thing ahead of time and make them practice pronouncing a name like Idina Menzel? I'm sorry, Miss Menzel, your name is not that hard to pronounce, and to have John Travolta, of all people, mispronounce it? Just embarrassing. But the Oscars is also all about the movies, and this would have been the perfect year to kind of address, from the Oscar point of view, instead of being so self-congratulatory, address the idea that 2013 was really a very bad year for movies. Movies made money, that's for sure. But there were more high-profile flops this year, and the normal strategy of rolling out new franchises and doing what you can to extend old franchises with more and more sequels just kind of puttered out this year. It just wasn't that good. Even the Star Trek movie wasn't that good, the Iron Man movie wasn't that good, and new franchises just didn't take off. This is going to be a problem if studios can't figure out a way to make people go to the movies a little bit more. And let's not even talk about 3D. Oh, sure, it's still out there for movies, even though it's more or less dead for television, but does anybody really care, and is anybody really paying the extra $4, at least that's what it is for me, the extra $4 to get a 3D movie going? I went to The Great Gatsby in 3D, and I didn't terribly care for it, to be honest with you. Amidst the self-congratulatory speeches and all the stuff in the middle where these otherwise anonymous people got their moment to shine, well, a lot of people just kind of fast forward past it or went to the bathroom or what have you. There was just a ceremony that was too long, wasted a lot of people's time, and just wasn't interesting. And yes, I understand the irony involved in the fact that this podcast is about to run over 5 minutes, which is my target time, so as if I have room to talk. Well, okay, Point made. But let's move on. On a happier note, I got the chance this weekend to spend some time with my old friend Major League Baseball, which is just starting to televise spring training this year. And in fact, MLB Network was showing the Boston Red Sox versus the Baltimore Orioles, which is always a nice little matchup. It's sort of the fight between the old grumpy looking guys standing there coaching kind of thing. And you never know whether it's going to be old grumpy looking John Farrell or old grumpy looking Buck Showalter who really wins that one. By way of disclaimer, I should point out I am also an old grumpy looking guy. But it's a lot of fun to watch baseball on a spring or summer afternoon, and it's one of those things that it just slows you down. It's a game that takes a long time to play. If you really just cut to the parts where something was actually happening, it probably only take about 15 minutes out of your actual 4-hour game. But it's the time and the tension and the relaxation and the chatter from the commentary that's good. It's all, it's just one of those things that brings you back a little bit. So I guess what I'm going to try to do here is tie this all in and make an attempt to pay the bills by telling you that DirecTV does have MLB Extra Innings, which gives you pretty much every game that happens out there during the regular season, with the exception of those on Sportsnet LA, because those folks at Time Warner Cable want to charge $8 per month per subscriber for that, which is $500 million a year. And come on, I mean, baseball is great, but it's not that great. So even if you're interested in Dodgers baseball, you can get it off of the other channel, whatever other team they're playing. You can watch their channel. It'd be great to watch, the home team feed, but not for $500 million. Anyway, not the point. Think about MLB Extra Innings on DirecTV. This podcast has gone incredibly long, and so as a result, just like Ellen DeGeneres, I'm going to cut it short with no explanation.